There we go. So, with the days that we're living in, we were talking about taking heed to yourselves because men's hearts are going to start feeling them for the things that are going to be coming on the world. So we're coming into a time where sci-fi is going to be like every day in the coming years. We don't know how long, but we know a lot of things have been unsealed. A lot of things are being, loosed in the earth. So we're coming into a time of stranger things. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So today is Stranger Things 1, The Lost Book of King Og, Spiritual Wickedness in High Places. So let's get into it. So a couple of things to know about the Lost Book of King Og. The text was suppressed by Pope Pius XII. Constantine destroyed all non-Christian texts in 326 CE. What happened in 325, though, the year before? The Sabbath day was made illegal, right, in 325. So shortly after that, when Christianity was really becoming its thing, they destroyed all non-Christian texts. Right? The complete Book of King Og is still in the Vatican. They won't release it to everybody because there's a lot more stuff in there. So now this is not the only book that we're going to be referencing. It's a lot of information. So my first question for y'all is going to be, who is King Og? Gotta keep this.
I never heard of him.
Yeah, King Og was a giant.
Okay.
He was a giant that had to, the Israelites had to face one of their
Okay.
battles.
Jeremiah, you
I
think
have no idea.
you don't know?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna go to Numbers 21. It's gonna be on the screen. You're good.
Yeah.
We're gonna read verses 33 through 35. So Jeremiah, if you don't mind, and read. It should catch. Oh, what are we doing here? Okay, there it is.
And they turned and went up by the way of Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, went out against them, he and all his people, to the battle of Edrei.
Idris. Mm-hmm.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Fear him not, for I have delivered him into thy hand, and all his people, and his land, and thou shalt do to him as thou didst unto Shehan, king of the Amorites. Shihon, king of the Amorites, which dwelt at Heshbon. So they smote him and his sons and all his people, until there was none left him alive, and they possessed his land.
So what just happened from what you just read?
What you talking about? They killed the other king, whatever his name was, Shihon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
So-
took the land and all that.
Well, they had already killed Sihon, so this is specifically about King Og of
yeah.
Bashan, right?
Yeah.
So they killed him, smote him, and left none to him. Right. So let's keep going. We're gonna go to Deuteronomy 3, and we're gonna read verses 1 through 11. I'm trying to move kind of fast because it's a lot of information. So a lot of information. Yep.
Then we turned and went up the way to Bashan, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei.
So that's what we just read in Numbers. Now we're gonna jump down to verses 8 through 11. So go ahead, keep reading.
And we took at that time out of the hand of the two kings of the Amorites
Sihon and King Og. You got it?
Yeah.
the land that was on this side of Jordan, from the river of Arnon unto Mount Hermon.
Who? Until where?
The river of Arnon.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, sis. Sit where you want. Okay, so what can any of y'all tell me about Mount Hermon? Y'all ever heard of it?
No.
No? Okay. Keep going.
Which Hermon the Sidonians call Syrian, and the Amorites call it Shinir.
Shinir. Remember Shinir. It's going to come back later, especially when you talk about the Lost Book of King God. Okay, keep going.
All the cities of the plain, and all the Gilead, and all Bashan unto
Sakla.
and Idra, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of giants. Behold, his bedstead was a bedstead of iron. Is it not in Rabbath of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, after the cubit of a man.
Okay, so verse 11. What does the first part of verse 11 mean?
He was the last one left.
He was the last one, right?
Yeah.
And what is a bested?
Bedstead, that was like his bedroom or like a place to sleep, slumber.
And what is a cubit?
Big.
It's like a
It's a measurement.
measurement, yeah.
Right. So the way a cubit works is from your elbow all the way to your furthest finger. That's 1 cubit. And so it said that he was how many cubits tall?
9 cubits.
9 cubits. So that's pretty tall, right? So there's a lot of different lore, and then he, like in some other texts, he was actually a lot bigger than that. But with the first part of verse 11, for only I, king of Bashan, which I'll just go to this one, of the remnant of the giants. So that makes you think that he's the last one. But is that a mistranslation? So we're going to go and we're actually going to look at what that word is for giants. The word, as we go to the next one, is Rapha. He was a Rephaim. So he was actually the last of the Rephaim, because remember, even
The race
before,
of giants.
exactly,
Yeah.
of a tribe of
Yeah.
giants.
Yeah.
He wasn't the last of all the giants. See, they trick us into like, oh no, that was it. Then you get to reading later on, and David and them are going against giants again. So no, that was of the Rephaim, a specific tribe of giants. Again, we're coming into a time where sci-fi is going to be every day. It's going to be every day. Because I was reading, I was like, man, is that really giants? And I looked like, no, it says giants, Rephaim, of old tribe of giants. Because like in the age we live in, they tell us all this stuff is myths, legends, fairy tales. But why would they write about stuff like this?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask you all again, how tall is 9 cubits?
Probably 9 foot tall.
What you got, man?
Yeah, like I said, it just depends on what they consider cubic. 'Cause like you said, cubics, that's like our translation of a cubit. Like their translation of a cubit probably was 3 feet.
Could be. It could be. You're right.
Because a cube is 3, right?
Cube, yeah.
Yeah.
To the third power.
they're probably about 3 feet. So if he's not, like bro, that's tall.
Taller than me.
27.
Yeah, is that right? Okay. So we're gonna find out. Bam, you mind reading this one? This is from Wikipedia. Just read the highlighted portion. Yeah.
Yeah. Really good.
You might want to cut one of those lights off.
Rephaim in a Hebrew word is a Hebrew word for giants. Deuteronomy 3:11 declares that his bedstead, translated in some texts as
Sarcophagus.
sarcophagus of iron, is 9 cubits in length and 4 cubits in width, which is 13.5 by 6 feet.
So what does that mean?
I have no earthly idea, but it sounds big.
So that means he was 13 and a half inches tall. Or feet tall, my bad. 13 and a half feet tall. But then he was also 6 feet wide.
Oh,
Why are you 6 feet wide? That's me like this way.
That's Bigfoot.
13 and a half feet tall and 6 feet wide. Now, there's other lore that he was bigger than that.
Yeah.
And we'll get into some of that stuff maybe on part 2 or part 3. So I just wanted y'all to see that. And
So he's saying he was 13 foot tall and 6 foot wide. God,
yeah. Yeah, 13 foot tall, 13 and a half foot tall, 6 feet wide, right? Okay. And so this is a different YouTube video, kind of sort of about the same type of thing, but I couldn't get the audio to work right with this system, so we're not going to play that. But we're going to get, at a math of 2 or 3 witnesses. So now we're going to actually get an extra biblical source, right? So we're going to go to this because I've been reading different books trying to come to different understandings about the times that, because if it's going to be as in the days of Noah, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So we got to be prepared. So when the stuff happens and the worlds like Tom Cruise and stuff starts happening, we got to be ready. We got to be rooted. Like, okay, I'm a part of the race of giant killers.
yeah.
Like, that's the type of faith that we're going to have to step into. We're going to have to walk in this age coming, right? Okay.
I know if I ever have to fight with you, I know what to do to him.
Bruh. So I'm going to read this one. This is from The Last Giant, Og, right? This is from a book, because I was just on Amazon ordering a whole bunch of different ones and got to reading a lot of this. It says, Og decided to refuse the Israelites a free passage through his land. That's what we just read. He gathered his people to fight the Israelites. The towering, humongous figure lumbered towards the Israelite army, leaving behind it a trail of muddy craters, unable to bear the weight because he weighed so much. The earth shook as he walked. Everything in the path where he had passed was crushed to smithereens, or was dead or dying. No wonder he was so feared among the nations. The giant was 13 feet, 5 inches tall. To look at him was to put a strain on one's neck. You would have to look sideways. He was so big. So you couldn't even, you'd have to kind of do it like that. He was just,
Go like that.
bruh. Oh, you big.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Where you come from?
Yeah. So and then another screenshot from this book. It shows you the different classes, and there were other classes, but this covers most of the different classes of giants. So the Nephilim, right, or the Watchers is what some people call them. They were the ones that actually came from heaven. They were the ones that actually did certain things. Those were the original, the ones that were bigger than King Og,
Yeah.
like way before that. And then you have Raphite, and then it says what? Arba, Anak, Anakite. So you see the different lineages. You see Horites on here. Arba, like, cause I'm trust me, I'm trying to figure out who the doggone Horites were too. So it's a lot of stuff. So we learned about King Og. We're gonna learn about Nimrod.
Oh yeah. Over in Iraq.
Yeah.
Boy,
You know the area. Okay, so who was Nimrod?
he's a Iraqi king, well, Babylonian king, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything else about Nimrod? Anybody?
Did he kill a lion before or something like that?
Mm-mm.
Didn't he try to make the people believe that he was God or something like that?
Something like that.
Oh, he was born from hold on.
Yeah,
That
his,
lady.
his,
His mama.
that ain't
What was his mama's name?
See, you're talking
Yeah.
about you're not talking about Semiramis, because that would have been his. Yeah, actually, no, that would be his mother.
Yeah.
You're right. Semiramis,
Yeah.
sun worship,
But
right?
wasn't she like the queen though?
Yeah.
He was the king.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they had a son
Yeah,
together
exactly,
that
yeah.
died. You know.
Exactly.
So we're not getting into the Christianity portion of it, but no, you're right. Anything else about Nimrod that y'all can remember?
Nah, I was all off. I thought that was son, David's son.
No. Okay.
He
So
did kill a lion or something like that.
yeah, I mean, he did a lot of stuff. Like, he did a lot of stuff, and he has a lot of different actual names too. Like, a lot of different names. So, now this part is not in the lesson, but the Tower of Babel,
Yeah.
Nimrod. It was either him or his son or grandson that had the same name. So, there's a lot of controversy on that from the research that I've seen. So now, to learn about Nimrod, we're going to go to Genesis 10, read verses 8 through 10. All right? Yeska, if you don't mind. I got to get to it. Okay.
And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and what is that?
Kalna.
Calna in the land of Sinar.
Wait, in the land of what?
Shinar.
What was what you said earlier about King Og? You don't remember? Hold on, let me go back.
That was like some of his people.
Which one was
Right
it?
there.
Mount Hernon. Remember you were reading about
Mount
Mount Hernon?
Hermon.
And then read verse 9.
Which Herman, the
Sidonians.
Mm.
called Syrian, and the Amorites call it Shinar. Yeah.
Well, then what we just read about Nimrod? How does King Og
He was
rule
king of
over? Right.
Akkad, Shinar. Yeah.
So, and then Nimrod, the beginning of his kingdom, or the cities that he created, it says, one of them in the land of Shinar. But I thought King Og was the ruler of Shinar.
Yeah.
We just read
But
that.
they're both spelled differently though. Shinar.
Right, but if you actually go back and look at it, it's the same place. It's literally the same place. So that was the first thing that I was like, okay, this book of King Og is getting kind of interesting because this is just from the Bible. I haven't even showed y'all in that yet, right? So I got a question for y'all though. When it says he was a mighty hunter before the Lord or Yahuwah, what does that mean? Right here in verse 8.
Was he like blessed by the Most High to be a mighty hunter? Like,
Okay.
He was a great hunter. And even God acknowledged he was a great hunter.
What you guys says?
I don't know.
Or whatever God told him to go hunt, he went to go do it, and he was great at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
From this, like it's like he was blessed by the Most High. Like,
He was favored.
yeah, because I know when it's always like a mighty man before the Most High, like he was righteous before the Most High. It's like you said, God acknowledged him, so to speak. As
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Well, why don't you ask me, what is it?
Okay, because I told you we're jumping, like, we're getting different, even extra biblical sources, right? So we read it from the Bible, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, right? So let's now this book, this is from Dante Fortune. It's called The Lesser Known People of the Bible, Nimrod. Now he comes to a different conclusion than I would from the other books that I'm reading, but I'm gonna read the highlighted portions of this, right? It says Cush fathered Nimrod. We just read that, who became the first fearless leader throughout the land. He was the first world ruler, right? He became a fearless hunter in defiance of Yahuwah.
Oh, in defiance of.
That is why it is said, like Nimrod, a fearless hunter in defiance of Yahuwah. So, because that word that's there for before, it's, if you read down here, it says before, Strong's 6440, panim or pana. It means accept or anger, so it can be either one. So, knowing that, let's try to learn a little bit more about Nimrod to see why would he be a mighty hunter against or in the face, like to his face, doing stuff to the Most High's face. Right? Right. So it says,
You gotta know these words.
bruh, it says, what made Nimrod a mighty hunter before or against Yahuwah, right? So we're going to go to the book of Jasher, right? And we're going to, Jasher 7, we're going to read verses 27 through 30, and then 42 through 47, right? Okay. And it reads, and in their going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah, his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers. What garments?
Clothing.
But what did he steal from? But whose clothing did he steal? I'm gonna tell you because I didn't put that in here. So it was once Adam and Eve fell, the Most High or Yahusha made them garments. So that's the ones that he stole.
Oh.
So the original garments from creation, basically.
Wasn't Ham cursed, supposedly, whatever?
Canaan was cursed, his grandson, not him. But they try to say it's a Hamite curse. That's a
Yeah.
lie. Yeah, that's a lie. So we're going to keep going. Verse 28. And when Ham begat his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret, and they were with Cush many days because he stole it. He wasn't supposed to have the stuff. If anything, should have went to Shem, the firstborn. But Cush got it. And Cush also concealed them from his sons and brothers. So it's a secret thing. And when Cush had begotten Nimrod, he gave him those garments through his love for him. And Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments. Uh-oh. Man, read the next verse.
And Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments. And God gave him might and strength. And he was a mighty hunter in the earth. Yea, he was a mighty hunter. And what is it? In the field. Yeah. In the field. And he hunted the animals.
And he built altars. And he offered upon them the animals before the Lord.
Okay, so who is the Lord?
So,
Not Bam.
Okay.
That'd be God, right?
In,
It can be. It's not always.
in this sense, it was his that father, I don't know, that made powerful, I don't know
I'm trying to figure out if those garments were stolen and then Nimrod put them on and got strong, why would God give him those powers if those clothes were stolen?
No, because those were Adam and Eve. So, they were the ones that ordered all the animals, named all the animals, this and that. So there's different texts that actually talk about how whenever those garments were placed on them, the animals had to obey whatever they did. Or like they would come and like kneel down before you, literally.
It's more like
He imbued the clothing with that.
So did Noah have it on when he was telling
He
the
could
animals
have.
to come on?
He could have.
Because they came.
That's
they
because
came to him.
because they stole it from what I didn't even catch that. They stole he stole that from who? He stole it
Noah.
from Noah.
Yeah.
And Noah had to basically do the same thing. That's a good point. I didn't even catch that. That's a good one.
Stay on the lesson.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, that's a good point. So I'm asking. Okay, so who is the Lord? Because I'm keep going to the last slides on this one, part one. So Jamal, can you read the name, the transliteration part?
Bow.
Baal.
Baal.
Okay.
That's a demon, ain't it?
Now look. Now I need you to read this down here, right here. It says what?
Proper masculine. Oh,
Right here.
right there.
No,
Baal.
down.
Outline.
Yeah.
Below that.
Baal, Lord. Yeah.
Baal equals Lord. So I'm gonna read this again because a lot of people think that he was actually being righteous before the Most High.
But he wasn't.
Baal's a demon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's the antithesis, or he's the antagonist of the story. You know, people think that he's actually warring with the Most High. He's really not. But he's got a position to play, and he's a false idol. Like, because I know I told y'all we're going into a time of Stranger Things, but we're also going into a time of spiritual wickedness in high places. There's a lot of deceptive doctrines coming out there that are so close that would have people. I mean, you got people running into anything, everything, just because it's briefly talked about in the Bible, and then they're not rooted in the Bible first. They're barely picking up the word. Aren't even rooted in the Torah. Can't even tell you anything about the New Testament. And then they want to go to all these extra biblical sources. So you got to be rooted first, and then let that add to your understanding. And as always, you chew up the meat and you spit out the bones. People aren't doing that. They're just going headlong, head first, not even paying attention. So Baal, or the Lord, can also be Baal. So you got to pay attention to the nature and the context of the person that it's being referred to as, right? So we're going to keep going. So we went over that. So now, back to Jasher, and we're going to read verses 42 through 47. Who just got done reading? Go ahead, man.
Look,
Right.
So Bam, he's now the world ruler, right? Okay. Just so y'all know. Go ahead.
You say Bam?
No.
Not Bam, Nimrod.
come on.
Nimrod. You know that was a joke.
Okay, Bam.
Strong. And whilst he was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered, go ahead.
Can you reign to your heart's desire and then be truly following the Most High?
Mm-mm.
Okay, just making sure. Okay.
That's why I said, after having conquered all his enemies around, he advised with his council to build a
You can
city
actually turn that light
for
on so
his
y'all can
place, and they did so.
Palace.
Palace. That is palace. Good catch.
see. Mhm.
And they found a large valley opposite to the east.
Wait a minute. Now, whenever we pray and we're praying the right, where are we supposed to pray towards
To the
Jerusalem?
east.
To the east.
Okay. Now he found it a place where?
Opposite of the east.
To the west.
I was seeing this. I'm like, you can't make this stuff up.
East.
Yeah, for real. Okay, keep going.
And they built him a large and extensive city. And Nimrod called the name of the city that he built Shinar.
Isn't that the same city we've been talking about? So now we got the Bible, we got Jasher, we got that other book talking about it, right? Shinar. Okay.
For the Lord had, what's the word?
Vehemently.
Vehemently.
Vehemently. What does that mean?
Like it was like violence.
Violently shaking.
Oh. Vehemently shaking his enemies and destroying them. And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely. And he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them. And he prospered. I was getting there. That is perspired.
Prospered.
Prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great. And all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him. And they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings, and he became their Lord and King. Ooh,
He became the what?
Lord and King.
Wait a minute.
See, they messed up
Wait,
right here when they
hold
said
on.
bow down to him. You know, you ain't
Boy,
supposed to be
and he didn't just become their king, he became
their
their,
Lord.
yeah, their God. But keep going.
And they all dwelt with him in the city at Shinar. And Nimrod reigned in the earth all over the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel. And all the earth was of one tongue and words upon the union of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Lord.
So now you're starting to see why I'm saying he wasn't sacrificing to the Most High. He wasn't going in the ways of the Most High. He was doing it to Baal, or actually to himself.
Yeah, he sacrificed to Baal.
Why?
And he was more wicked than all the men that were before him. from the days of the flood until those days.
So we got to remember.
He was more wicked than Cain.
I'm about to say, because the Most High, like, he literally killed all the population because of their wickedness, and he was more wicked than them. But keep going. Read the next verse.
One person could be like that. That's crazy.
And he made gods of wood and stone.
What does that sound like? Christianity, what we're
Yeah.
still doing today. Okay.
And they said don't do that.
Mhm.
And he bowed down to them.
You ever seen people, like, when they see pictures of Jesus or crosses and whatever, they literally will bow down and pray to it, cry to it, right?
You know they got when you pray.
Catholics do that.
Man.
Side note: when you I was at a church, and I know we go to the altar and pray. Both Baptist church, but this church they kneeled at the altar. And you know most altars have the crosses right there.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I just something in me didn't sit well. Never, ever when I was at that church. Anywho, bowed down to them, and he rebelled against the Lord, and taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways. And what's that, Martin?
Mhm.
And Martin, his son, was more wicked than his father. Ooh.
So that
It's
wickedness,
just pushing wickedness
like,
all
I
out.
should have put the next verse when it talks about it. He became a saying, the wicked become more wicked, basically talking about generation to generation, basically. So that's that. So just in case, because when you look online, they try to show you a lot of Europeanized images of what Nimrod is, right? So you were talked about the location. This is Nimrod, the Ethiopian or Cush king, right? So real quick, it says the ancient area known as Cush encompassed both modern-day Sudan and Ethiopia, right? The following map shows the African territory that the Bible refers to as Cush. So you got Gog, Magog, Rosh, all these, but you see Cush. Cush is right here, right, in Africa. So just to make sure, ensure it says the Middle East there, and Babel, Erech, Akkad. Don't forget Kalna and Shinar, right? So what does the word Nimrod mean?
I forgot.
I know it's like a negative thing because like people are like you Nimrod,
Right.
you idiot.
See,
Dumb.
right?
Dumb.
Because I remember growing up, like that's what they used to tell me.
Yeah,
Like,
we need to say
yeah,
that word.
Nimrod.
Nimrod.
But how? I was talking to my friend, and I came to the conclusion, like, how can you call him dumb if he actually ruled the world? Like, he did some dumb stuff, but to rule the whole world, he couldn't have been that dumb. Couldn't have been that dumb. Now, don't get me wrong. Spiritually, he was very dumb. But I mean, to rule the whole world, come on now. So,
But how big was the world back then? It wasn't that big back then.
But it was.
but
It really wasn't. It was just Africa pretty much back then.
yeah, but you're talking about all of Africa, though.
So you got to remember, Pangea didn't happen back in this time.
Mhm.
So it was one massive
Connection.
piece of land.
Connection.
Like, I get it was
Because like there
it
were
was-
other civilizations actually going on
Yeah.
this side of the world too. Everybody paid homage to Nimrod.
Yeah, like it's everyone.
Over in the Middle Eastern area, though.
Okay.
Not the whole entire world. It wasn't. It was what do you call that? Uninhabited. Like nobody.
They had different names for what Nimrod is. Because like Nimrod to me, that's more of a English version of the name. So I'm gonna give you another name for Nimrod. There's a book that they used to make everyone have to read in school. The Epic of
The Greek movie.
the Epic of
It was a Greek.
Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
Gilgamesh is Nimrod.
So I heard about that.
Gilgamesh is Nimrod. Gilgamesh is Nimrod. Yeah. So, like what we was talking about before, so we can keep going. According to King Og, this is from the book of King Og, he says Nimrod's name will forever mean stupid.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've been taught it actually means. But let's actually go to the Bible, the biblical source, to see what the name means, right? So,
Unspoken mistake.
right. We're gonna get to the it led to the unspoken mistake. We're gonna get to the unspoken mistake. According to this, that's from the book, the Lost Book of King Og. Okay. So this is what is this? 5248. But I'm gonna go to the top. It says Nimrod equals rebellion or valiant. So Nimrod means rebellion. That's why he got the people to do all this craziness, right? And he was a mighty hunter in rebellion to the Most High. Everything he did was basically to a rebellious state. Because like now there's this strong delusion, strange fire. There's this doctrine of devils where, like, don't get me wrong, we are a part. We are the body of Christ, or the body of Mashiach, right? So we are a piece of that essence, right? So even he said, is it not written in your law? I have said you are Elohim. So we are. But people start taking it as I am the most high Elohim. Nimrod. Nimrod started self-worship. And that's so big and it's so prevalent today, and it's spiritual wickedness in high places. Because, now, don't get me wrong, your words manifest, your thoughts manifest, your actions, your faith with your works manifest things. But you're not the creator. You see what I'm saying? So we got to be careful not to get too far headlong into those very seductive doctrines, because they're out there, pulling people away from the core of the truth. I'm not saying that the book is the only thing that has truth in it, but that's what we should be rooted in, not extra biblical sources first, and then come back to the Bible as a last resort. That's backwards. Get rooted first, then go.
Even with the Bible being altered and watered down and all that?
Yes.
Watered down a lot.
Unequivocally.
Yeah.
Unequivocally. Just like that mistranslation for giants, when it was last of the Rephaims, with the way it should have read.
There's so much stuff that don't make sense in that Bible that they done took out and put
Oh
their
yeah,
own words in
I
there.
agree. I agree.
It's hard to figure out what's the truth and what's not the truth. And
Right.
who's lying, who put that in there because it sounds better.
And
You know?
see, but the thing about, like I said, I always, it's true.
That's why religion is so hard to go with, because man wrote that book.
You know it's supposed to go religion anyway.
Well, you know what I mean. I'm talking about,
But yeah, but that's why this is, the back study of concordance. Getting the Greek, what is Septuagint?
Septuagint.
Yeah, we're going to get into that a
So
little bit here in a minute.
To backdate these words, because you can't. The truth is the truth. You can't deny the truth.
Right.
You can't go against the truth when it's there.
But you can alter it and make it kind of tricky. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you gotta pray before you start reading.
There you go.
And that's why we
That's
prayed.
it.
That's why I said the most high truth. I started saying it because when I got into the truth, I'm like the truth. But he says truth in a lot of things.
Yeah. So now, this is an extra biblical source to kind of hammer and show you the truth of Nimrod, right? So let's go. This is from the Jewish Encyclopedia. Of course, it says, son of Cush and grandson of Ham. His name has become proverbial as that of a mighty hunter. His kingdom comprised Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar, otherwise known as the land of Nimrod. So all of that stuff was known as the land of Nimrod. So I go back again. How come King Og had Shinar in a part of his kingdom? According to the lost book of King Og. I'm just asking a question. It says that Nimrod is the prototype of a rebellious people, his name being interpreted as he who made all the people rebellious against Elohim. He's also identified with Cush and with Amraphel, which means he whose words are dark. Now check this out. This was kind of interesting. As he was the first hunter, he was consequently the first to introduce the eating of meat by man.
Eating of meat.
Now we know that the Most High told Noah all the foods that they can eat in Genesis 9. Now Noah predates Nimrod and all that, so we know that's not. But maybe he actually was a certain type of meat. Maybe.
Pork.
We'll see. We'll see.
Pork and shrimp.
We'll see. So now we're gonna get to the unspoken mistake.
Yeah.
The unspoken mistake. So before we really kind of delve into it, because I didn't really put a whole lot in here on that, I'm gonna give y'all some things to know about King Og and Nimrod, some backstory according to the book, right, the Lost Book of King Og. So it says King Og, he sacrifices false Baal priests that led them to the unspoken mistake. So something happened that was so wicked that he started sacrificing his own priests.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
His own priest. This is King Og. So then it says, during the time, this is a direct quote, of the sacrifice of the loose-bowed fecal priests, talking about the same ones. This is just
Wow.
the way
Of course it's gonna be loose bow. They're gonna be,
I Og govern my half of the great land, and Nimrod his.
So they share land.
They share rulership. For some reason, the Bible kind of leaves that part out a little bit,
That's what I'm saying.
which we know they take stuff out.
Yeah.
Which I agree with you on that. But so what would the land be? What's that word that kept coming up?
Shinar.
Shinar.
Yeah.
Known as the land of Nimrod, but King Og also ruled parts of that land, right? Okay, then it says, I govern my half of the great land and Nimrod his. I continually marveled over the tranquil peace between our war tribes. Okay. Nimrod's, read that part, somebody.
Nephilim kingdom enforced circumcision, while Og's did not. The Lost Book of King Og, page 3.
Wait a minute. Nimrod's what?
He enforced
Nephilim
circumcision.
kingdom.
Huh?
His kingdom of giants.
They enforced circumcision.
But his Nephilim kingdom.
Yeah, Nephilim kingdom.
Now, the Nephilim were the first ones to come down.
Yeah,
like
the
it's what,
Watchers.
right? The Watchers, right? Why would King Og call it Nimrod's Nephilim kingdom?
Because he wanted power.
They were
He
all,
had
all
power.
Nephilim.
So that man was controlling the Watchers.
Let's keep going. It says King Og made a covenant with all Rephaim and Nephilim tribes with them until Nimrod betrayed them. So they were all tight. They were running. They was running the show, right? Nimrod introduced by all worship to humans. That's why I talk about this is according to the Lost Book of King Og. He implemented Baal worship to mankind. So when he's doing sacrifices, he's doing it to another Elohim. Nimrod started that. Nimrod. Okay. So the question I just asked you, why would King Og call Nimrod a Nephilim? So now we're going to get into some of these other extra biblical sources. And even, I think even some biblical sources, just to try to make it. Remember I said that Gilgamesh is Nimrod. Remember I said that, right? Okay. Let's read this. It says, the final objection to the Sephite. Well, I don't want to start that. It says, these giants are really the focus of the book, but it has been necessary to talk about their fathers until this point. Though honestly, their fathers deserve an entire book themselves. The Greek word for giants is gigantes. Here is what the dictionary of deities, what's a deity?
A god.
God.
Exactly. A deity is a god. Deities and demons in the Bible says about them. In the strict sense, the gigantes, the Greek mythology, were the serpent-footed giants.
Serpent footage.
I'm going to show you a picture in a second. Were the serpent-footed giants who were born from the blood drops of castration of Uranus. So you're not going to understand what that means yet. We will here in a little bit.
Say it again.
Okay. So it says, in the strict sense, the gigantes in Greek mythology were the serpent-footed giants who were born from the blood drops of the castration of Uranus. You're not going to understand what that means yet.
The
But
planet Uranus?
right, you're not going to understand but what that means yet. And then you see this where it says heaven right next to that?
Yeah.
In parentheses. That's what Uranus actually means, heaven. That had fallen on earth. The term gigantes occurs about 40 times in the Greek Septuagint, because that's what you talked about earlier, the Greek Septuagint. That's like the oldest surviving copy that we actually have, right? So then it says, oh no, come on, Lord. Talk on it. I can't really see it. Went too far. Blank respectfully to the giant offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of mankind in Genesis 1 and 6. B is strong and mighty men like Nimrod, right? So this is that word gigantes. So it can mean the sons of God. It can mean strong and mighty men like Nimrod. And it says several pre-Israelite peoples of tall nations. I can't even see that. Canaan and Transjordania. The etymology of the name maybe pre-Greek is known. It is unknown, but was in antiquity might to be gigantes or gigantes or born from earth. So this is a picture of what they said Nimrod looked like right here. Serpent-footed. Right. But everything that they did would be spiritual though. That just could just mean he just moved like a snake. Yeah. So you can't just always take everything at face value, right? It was very subtle in what he did. So let's keep going. Y'all probably can't read. I got it. So moving on. So now we're gonna read. We're gonna start down here. It says, moving on. The Greek word gigantes translate the Hebrew word Nephilim. Right. That's what we've been talking about because King Og said it was Nimrod's Nephilim kingdom. Is the word that appears in Genesis 6 and 4. The ESV leaves it untranslated. It is commonly thought that Nephilim is related to the Hebrew word Nephal, meaning to fall. Hebrew was originally written without vowels and viewed in this light. The two words are almost identical. Theologically, to fall may fit with either the angelic view, children of those who fell to earth, or a Sethite view, because there is another view that the Sethites were the sons of God, and when they made it with the daughters of men, which was the daughters of Cain, then giants came. But I ain't never seen nobody mate with a woman and then giants 13 feet tall are just created out of nowhere. There's something else going on, right? So it says, if the word means to fall, there's an interesting relationship with Nephilim and Gigantes, are those born from the flood, fallen on earth.
From blood.
From the castrated Uranus, Gigantes means born of the earth. And in this context, it is easy to see why. Keep in mind that Uranus is a Greek word meaning heaven. So what we read before, it means those that fell from heaven were born. Or those born from heaven that fell, something to that effect, right? Meaning heaven. But he was, we're going to keep going on this, also a god. So the Nephilims were also a god, especially to mankind. You're seeing something that tall. But why is why is King Og calling Nimrod's kingdom a Nephilim kingdom?
You got an idea.
Gotta be the Watchers. Let's control the Watchers.
That's what I was saying. And that's so, like, because one of your descriptions it was just saying, like, gigantes could mean mighty men.
Mhm.
Once he put on a garment, he became a mighty man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So he probably overthrew these giants. Like, ain't no mere man doing these things. So he probably be regular 6 feet tall.
Because he became a mighty man in the face or against the Most High, right? Could be. Could be.
And then he controlled the Nephilim giant.
Could be.
They was scared of him.
Yeah.
Like this little bitty man.
Yeah,
twin us
but
like
yeah,
this.
but he got them clothes on.
Yeah.
Like-
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It says, in other words, perhaps more than any other god of the Greek pantheon, his name shows that he is a heavenly being. So let's keep going. Whew. So we're going to jump down here. It says, we have looked at Gigantes, because there's another word that describes the fallen ones, right? At Gigantes and Nephilim. Now we want to look at the Hebrew word Gibborim. Reading the Greek Septuagint, you would not even know that there's another word in the Hebrew for the Greek Septuagint translate both Nephilim and Gibborim as Gigantes. Now the giants, Nephilim, so the giants are Nephilim. So that's Gigantes, were upon the earth in those days. And after that, when the sons of God were wont, so the sons of God are the Watchers, were wont to go in to the daughters of men, they bore children to them. Those were the giants, Gibborim, Gigantes of old, the men of renown. This speaks volumes about how the Jews before Christ interpreted this passage, because it was common knowledge at the time that Yahushua was alive. Like, they knew about all this. It wasn't fairy tale to them. It wasn't mythology to them. They knew this as fact and faith.
I wanted to, if them giants forced them women.
Oh, we going to get into that?
Yeah.
Just give me a little bit. We're going to get into that. Okay. It says, in Hebrew to English translations, Gibborim is usually translated as something like mighty men, like Bam said. Though in the Dead Sea Scrolls, its Aramaic equivalent is, as with the Greek Septuagint, so we got two witnesses, regularly translated as giants. And again, the Greek Septuagint is the oldest thing that we have. In Genesis 6, it is apparently parallel to Nephilim and certainly parallel to men of renown, or more literally, men of the name, or Shem. That's what the name means, is Shem. The word is next used in the Bible of Nimrod.
The Bible of Nimrod.
No. The word is next used in the Bible of Nimrod. So they use the word Gibborim that goes back to giants for Nimrod. That's what it's saying, right? Who was the first on earth after the flood to become a Gibborim. He was the builder of the Tower of Babel. Because you got to think, like, how would you even have the intellect to even want to even build a tower literally to heaven? You got to have some kind of foreknowledge about certain things like that. Because you talking about up there, like, it's like never ending,
Yeah.
And so, but see how they how they type it, to become. It's like he was made that way in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he wasn't born.
Not like that at first, but then
Yeah.
after something happened,
So
he
did something
became-
happen when he put them clothes on? Did he become like? Did he grow? Like did something? That's crazy. But it's interesting. I like it.
And he was the builder of the Tower of Babel. And as we will see in the first chapter, Nimrod, like Orion, Nimrod's also the constellation Orion,
Okay.
like Orion, was a hunter. In the stories of the ancient Near East, he is also identified as a giant. So in the Near East, they know Nimrod was a giant. But over here, we just thinking, oh no, he was just some idiot king.
Just some dummy.
But you know what's crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Like they was talking about, like you said, like in the Bible, you know, the closest word to giant was Nimrod. And like his name means stupid. Most like when they depict giants in most
They
key
always
films,
dumb.
it's always
Big dummy. A big dummy.
Yep.
Big Nimrod.
That's a big deception.
Yeah.
Because they're not. There are some, like there's dummies of everything,
Yeah.
but the ones that are secretly behind closed doors running the show in all these nations, they're not dumb.
Not dumb at all.
They're not dumb at all. At all. This also parallels the idea set forth by Hesiod that there were half god heroes from of old. Thus, the Gibberine in Genesis are said to have been from of old. Because if you remember in all the Greek myths, right, Zeus and all these other gods would come down and they change their appearance and they would just start having sex with all these women and having all these demigods, right?
Yeah.
Nimrod. Nimrod. So, enough on that for a little bit. What is the connection of the Great Land that they both have a connection with that we were just talking about? What was that land called? Shinar, right? Okay. So, Jessica, you mind reading this one again?
And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel,
Right.
and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar.
Of Shinar. Shinar.
Shinar.
Right. So now I'm going to jump to back to Jasher 7 and just read 43 and 44. And they found a large valley opposite to the east, and they built him a large and extensive city, and Nimrod called the name of the city that he built Shinar, for Yahuwah had vehemently shaken his enemies and destroyed them. And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely and fought with his enemies, and he subdued them, and he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very, very great. So we know that. Back to Deuteronomy again. I'm just going to read Mount Hermon, verse 9, 3, verse 9, which Hermon the Sidonians call Syrian, and the Amorites call it Shinar, right? So we're starting to see that, right? So now we're going to get to some things to know about King Og and Nimrod. Jermaine, you mind reading this one?
King Og envied Nimrod as a ruler, warrior, and how he forced humans to build the throne room to Baal.
Bala.
Bala.
Yeah, it's basically Baal, but yeah,
King Og refers to Nimrod's kingdom as a Nephilim kingdom.
again, right? Okay.
Nimrod's land uses smaller cells for food and secret.
What if you're a giant, what would be a smaller self?
People.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm like shells. Like maybe it's
Yeah.
shells. Like,
It says cells,
That-
not shells.
yeah,
So
I know.
that's
Yeah.
like, this is the way that they talk back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I want you to start that one over and
All right.
read that again.
Nimrod's land uses smaller cells for food and secret. He traded them to the kingdom of Og for labor in the open. Nimrod also forced the male Nephilim and the male smaller cells of his kingdom to carve their lions with the knife of circumcision.
So he made all the male Nephilim and all the male smaller or humans to circumcise themselves. Right? Okay, keep going.
Consumption of smaller cells in secret is the true mystery that Nimrod knew. In governance, Nimrod, the dung smeared of mind and loin, raises smaller cells as secret food meat. Nimrod, the Nephilim, with an incomplete member
who deceived and concealed his consumption of the adult male smaller selves.
This is from page 4 of the lost. Like this is like when I was reading this book, it just started like so much information like right off the bat. I'm like, yo, hold on, wait a minute. So
when they went to my son, he was the first one to introduce the eating of meat. They was talking about cannibalism. Was that
Bam.
cannibalism? Because that's smaller than it was they. So I'm just saying because that was like a different race of people. Like they was giants.
They were still people.
we gonna read about it. We gonna read a little bit into it because I'm trying to make
Giants
sure.
are cannibals at the end of the day. They are.
Yeah, because
That's a fact.
Jeremiah, you want to tell us about what me and you were talking about last night?
Yeah, there was a Nephilim giant in Afghanistan back in 2004. The U.S. military had sent 12.
And you went to there in 2005, right after that.
But the U.S. military had sent a special forces group of 12 men to go check out this cave or whatever.
This is a true story.
This is a real true story. This happened in 2004. So they went to go check out this cave or whatever. And out of nowhere, this giant came out the cave. He killed every last man and ate all of them to pieces. He ate all of them. Their clothes were torn, their radios were torn up, their food was thrown about, but their bodies were gone. Only thing was left was bones. And so the U.S. Military kept calling them people, and they wasn't responding. So they sent another special forces group of 12 to go find out where them guys are at. So they went to the same exact cave, and when they were walking up on that cave, they seen bones and blood everywhere. And they found pieces of the radios laying around or whatever. And then once it came to the opening of that cave, the giant, I guess, had stood up and started running towards them. They said the ground was shaking. And once he ran out the cave, he had his spear. And he hit it, got his spear, and he threw it right through one of them guys and picked them up like this. And the guys were in shock. They were like, what is this? What's going on? And they finally came out of shock and started shooting him in the head, and they killed him. The dude was 13 feet tall and 1,300 pounds. He had 6 fingers, 6 toes, red hair, had 2 rows of top teeth, 2 rows of bottom teeth. It's a real life story.
So,
Yeah.
how tall was King Og?
13.
Yeah.
5
And he was 6 feet
foot
wide. And you said this one was 13 foot
13
and
foot
over
tall,
1,300
1,300
pounds.
That's
Remember how the earth was shaking whenever
Yeah.
Nimrod, I mean not
That's true.
Nimrod, King Og was moving or whatever?
That's true. They said he was so fast and so quick, they didn't know what to do. Like they'd never seen nothing like this before in their life. They was in shock.
And this was what? This is 22. That was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, it's so hard to even find like news on giants because
Yeah.
like it used to be you could just like Google stuff and you could still find the new occurrences and this and that. But when I tell you they're censoring that stuff,
So
But
like
the people who live around that cave, they already knew he lived there, so they always give him, human sacrifices or food or whatever, so he won't come to their village and eat them up.
wow.
That's
in
a true
Afghanistan,
story. In Afghanistan, it's a true story. Yeah.
The mystery of the caves.
Yeah. That stuff is
like,
true.
and you wonder because I didn't really put that in there. I was trying to, but like you remember we went on a camping trip not too long ago, right? But you know how many people be coming up missing at state parks?
All the
Bro,
time.
you kept saying it. You
All
like,
the time.
Watch the kids. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
every
always,
time.
it's
Watch
always
the kids.
either the kids or the older people. And
And-
usually it be established hunters get kidnapped
Yeah.
too. And they can never find them.
Yeah.
And they always have guns, and they never shoot a weapon or whatever because they always get kidnapped. They can't shoot nothing. I mean, they get surprised and get kidnapped.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Because like the secret of Nimrod's kingdom was that they were using humans for meat. Now, if you go back to the Matrix movies, people weren't even procreating anymore. They were being created, and we were literally the energy for the machines. We were literally their food, if you actually think about it. Now, what do you think is so important about the America making sure that all people are fat and lazy? And you know how many people come missing here in America?
A lot.
All the time?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. And then y'all remember the video that we watched a few years ago where the Jewish guy was literally admitting like, yeah, we steal all these kids, we sacrifice them, and then we put it in the meat that McDonald's sells out. This is spiritual wickedness in high places.
Right.
Like they want us overweight, they want us out of shape, they want us unhealthy,
Yeah.
spiritually and mentally. That is the secret, because this is spiritual Babylon to Nimrod's kingdom.
Yeah.
They're still doing this. Why do you think sex trafficking is so big in the world? We're gonna get to
Everybody
that.
knows about it in the
Right.
government.
Yeah.
They all
That's
know
why
about it.
Yeah.
the Bible says not to be deceived by man.
Right. This is the time where we got to take heed to ourselves, our families, our wives, our children, everything. Like, don't just be going places with them and just letting them run amok no more. This is not the time for that.
Nope.
Especially those that have neuromelanin. Us. This is not the time for that. We look, and we are the number one population of people that have said no to the jab. And we saw all the rulings that the Supreme Court just made, except for healthcare workers. So jealousy is going to start running amok, because when these people start falling like flies and realizing like, oh man, this is that, or like just whatever it is, because they know that the light is us. You know, it's time for our light to shine. We got to take care of home. We got to get our houses in order. Like, I cannot express that enough, especially if you like, man, you got daughters, bro. Like, man, dude, this is not the time, man, because there's predators out there. And I'm not just talking about sexual. I'm talking about those that will sexually predaturize them and then get them scared and then start eating them because they want to eat their pineal gland. Pizzagate. Like, this stuff was real. Just like what happened with Epstein, and then he committed suicide.
Yeah.
The cameras broke.
Yeah.
You know, he committed suicide, and then some of the information from
letters came out.
yeah, some of the information from Giselle, whatever, Maxwell, whatever her name was, or is, stuff got sealed. Not all of it, but then they're gonna steal information because there was a lot of people's names on that thing. The
Yeah.
Clintons, the last president, even a whole lot more. That's what I'm saying. Like, look,
Oh,
no.
yeah, it was a lot. A lot of people were like, was under fire.
Yeah,
And they stopped losing their TV shows. They stepped away from their certain TV shows.
bro, they just stopped. They just stopped even reporting, and even like the trial wasn't even really. It was supposed to be public, but you didn't really hear too much about it. They just keeping that on the
There's
low.
too much stuff going on.
Yeah. So again, Nephilim. I mean, we've already hammered the Nephilim, so I don't think I need to say anything. And then this is just a picture of a show that June watches or used to watch called Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is literally about giants eating humans, and so the humans are literally forming together and learning how to become giant
Isn't
killers.
it an anime show?
That's an anime show.
My coworkers always talk about
Yeah,
Attack on
but that's
Titan.
literally what it's about. It's literally about giants eating humans. Literally.
Gotta
Okay.
take heed of these shows.
Man, they,
Some things they
TV
don't.
show will tell you everything.
They say
call
it's entertainment, but it's not. And I mean, I've been feeling like that since I was a little girl.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not fake. This is
It's
something
all
that they're
based
trying
on
to tell
true
us.
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
They put that misnomer out. Oh, don't believe nothing you see on TV.
It's just entertainment.
Then they tell you to believe the media.
Yeah.
like, y'all remember, because I'm glad you said that. Shows like, it's before our time, like the Mary Tyler Moore show,
Yeah.
the Dick Van Dyke show,
Yeah.
you know, these are the prototypes for the, you know, the Late Show with Jay Leno and all this and that. But if you think about it, this is also the prototypes for the modern day news. Because you get these anchors with these big names,
Yeah.
and people worship these anchors. Instead of thinking for themselves,
Man.
they let them think for them through that idiot box.
Whatever they say is the truth.
Yeah, it's doctrine, it's gospel, it's Torah. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to stop doing that. Like, turn that thing off and actually live a little. You know. So, did this happen in the Bible? We're just gonna go to Luke 13 and read verse 1. It's right on the screen. It says, "At that time, some people." This is from the New Century Version, because the King James didn't make it as plain as this one. It says, "At that time, some people who were there who told Yahushua that Pilate had killed some people from Galilee while they were worshiping. So he mixed their blood with the blood of the animals they were sacrificing to Elohim." So y'all know what happens to animal sacrifices, right? Y'all know.
Yeah, people eat them.
The priests are supposed to eat the animal sacrifices, right? Let's go to Jeremiah 19 and read verses 1 through 5. It says, "Thus saith Yahuwah, go and get a potter's earthen vessel, and take of the ancients of the people and of the ancients of the priests, and go forth into the valley of the son of Hinnom, which is by the entry of the east gate, and proclaim there the words that I shall tell thee. And say, hear you the word of Yahuwah, O kings of Yehuda, and inhabitants of Jerusalem. Thus saith Yahuwah Zebaoth, the Elohim of Israel, Behold, I will bring up evil upon this place, the which whosoever heareth his ears shall tingle, because they have forsaken me, and have estranged this place, and have burned incense in it unto other Elohim, whom neither they nor their fathers have known, nor the kings of Yehuda, and have filled this place with the blood of innocents. They have built also the high places of who?
Baal.
Who is the Lord? To burn their what?
Sons.
With fire for burnt offerings unto Baal, which I commanded not, nor spake it, neither came it into my mind. So this is spiritual wickedness in high places. So this was going on before. So a part of Baal worship is like when we read about King Og burning all the fecal member priests or whatever. So another way to sacrifice is to sacrifice your sons and potentially your daughters to Baal in fire. So again, what do you do with the sacrifice after it's burnt?
You get an 8.
So, and then it just kind of clicked. I'm like, oh man, I never even thought about that. Because like you wonder why in Deuteronomy 28, the Most High said one of the curses was going to be that you would eat the flesh of your sons and of your daughters in the straight way. So when 70 AD happened, and they burned all their supplies and they had fasted and they became so faint that they literally started eating each other. It's because that's what they were doing to Baal. So the Most High was like, okay, you want to curse me to my face? You want to be Nimrod to me? You want to be rebellious to me? So I'm going to curse you to where you're going to eat your sons and daughters because just for survival. And I had never even thought about it like that. I was like, oh yeah, they burned their sons and daughters to the fire to Molech and Ashtaroth and Baal. But then I was just reading like Leviticus 6, Leviticus 17, like, wait, the priests eat the offerings. It's a sacrifice, so it's an offering. So it wasn't just that they were killing their seed, because we were given a commandment to be fruitful and to multiply, to replenish the earth. They were also eating it, and even though they burned it out, we're not supposed to eat the what? We're not supposed to eat the blood. So how do you know they even fully killed? Like it's just so many layers to it. I was like, oh man, I never thought about it like that. So we turned cannibals, so the Most High turned us into cannibals to curse us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of sense.
Okay. We may actually get through, because if I'd have took it slow, this part would have took like 2 times. Okay. Let me know if I'm going too fast. My bad. My bad. So now, spiritual wickedness in high places, right? Because that's also all this child sacrificing and trafficking is also what's going on, and they are literally eating the children. Eating. Another thing about the book of King Og, I'm not sure if I put this in there. So, of course, Nimrod forced the male Nephilim to be circumcised, but also the male smaller cells, or the humans. But the women were venerated, and they became priestesses. And they were taken for wives and for concubines. But the only ones, because they were eating smaller cells, right? They were only eating the males. They were only eating the males. They wouldn't eat the women. They venerated the women.
Wow.
Because if I'm not mistaken, the Nephilim were all men, right?
Yeah, but they can probably change their sex. I'm not gonna act like they can.
Well, not the Nephilim. I'm talking about like once, like
No,
Nimrod
you're talking about the
and
angels.
God.
Yeah, but like we gotta stop, because a lot of times we put the Most High in a bubble. We gotta stop doing that to them too, so they can change their appearance. But yeah, like being incarnate, what they were made. Like I would say masculine. I won't say male, because that's a little masculine's a little bit more, but like ancient. I would say.
But the reason why I ask is because like a lot of times, like these, when they depict in scripture or other places, they be male figures, like you said, masculine figures, and they always taking the woman to procreate.
Yeah, always.
So it's like you said, like they eating the men for food, but they keeping the women. So I'm like, did they not have women or female counterparts? The reason why they had to procreate with the daughters of Adam?
Man, all them giants were male.
That's what it seemed like. So like, shoot, they ain't, like you said, what they need the men for outside of food? Like I ain't gonna procreate with you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so, oh man, that's in part 2. Never mind.
Okay.
Never mind. Okay. Back to Joshua 7. This time we're gonna read verse 18. Bam, would you read?
And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force from their husband according to their choice.
Mm.
So they weren't just taking women; they wanted the women they wanted. The sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and taught them what's that mixture of animals. Okay, yes, this will happen. Just okay, mixture of animals of one species with another, in order therewith to provoke the Lord, and the Lord and God saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupt in its ways upon the earth, all men and all
That's
animals.
how we got dinosaurs,
so-
ain't it?
Yeah. So who are the judges and rulers?
For judges and rulers.
Yeah, the beginning of that verse.
So, in context, I would think Nimrod and them.
Okay, let's keep going. Spiritual wickedness in high places, right? We're going to the book of Enoch.
Yeah, I can't see that.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. The book of Enoch, 1, the first book of Enoch, in chapter 6, and it says, "And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied, that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters." So these are smaller selves, right? And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them. So now it's clear. So those judges and rulers are the angels, right? Mm-hmm. After them. And said to one another, "Come, let us choose us wives from among the children of men, and beget us children." And Simjaza, who was their leader, said unto them, "I fear you will not indeed agree to do this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin." And they all answered. So no, they're like, no, because Simjaza's like, "Look, y'all gonna make me do this by myself. I ain't trying to be alone, man. You know."
I need some help.
Yeah, hey, come on, man. Y'all see how fine these daughters is, man? Did you see that one right there? Man, Google it, Moogle it. And then it says, him and said, and they answered, they all answered him and said, "Let us all swear an oath and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing." So they were of Akkad, they were of one mind. They
So
came
like
to,
the first pack.
and they
Yeah,
made an
first
oath.
pack that was- yeah.
They be like, "Yeah, hey man, I'm making this oath, man.
Yeah.
I'm about to have me some human babies, like I'm about to have me some little Gilgameshes and Nimrods and all them right there, right?" Then swear they all together and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it, and they were in all 200. We knew that. We should know that.
Yeah.
Who descended in the days of Jared on the summit of where?
Herman.
Shinar.
Shinar.
Such
Mount
a
Hermon is Shinar.
Well, yeah.
Oh wow.
Because I saw that, I was like, all this stuff happens in Shinar.
Mm.
Everything happens in Shinar.
All the weekend. Shinar wicked.
Bruh, it goes down. It goes down in
Yeah.
Shinar. And Mount Hermon, and they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. So that's the whole point. That was where the watches originally came down at.
Yeah.
That's the same place where Nimrod founded,
Yeah.
and him and King Og both ruled. I was like, oh man, I was like, this is crazy. I just had to start laughing. Like, they don't teach us nothing
At all.
at all. So Nimrod's kingdom literally was where the well, I'll just call it the event happened. I don't know why Mama Cat's calling me right now. Okay. All right. Where was I at? Because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations. Can y'all finish reading that? Hold on.
Because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual implications upon it.
I'm teaching right now.
And these are the names of their leaders. Oh, Semi-Aziz, their leader, Arakiba, Ramil, Kokabil, Tamil, Ramil, Daniel, Ezekiel, Barak, Kijel. And come read these, man.
I got you.
Wow.
There's a lot of L's and
Yeah.
E's and
Okay.
L's.
So
Blank,
the thing
blank,
about
blank.
El, like El or Yah, you know, it's supposed to be
Oh,
like
Elohim.
yeah, Elohim or Most High, you know, gods. So because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual implications upon it, and these are the names of their leaders. These are just the leaders. That's Semjaza, their leader, Arakiba, Ramael, Kokaba'el, Tamael or El, Ramael, Daniel, Ezekiel, Baraki Ja'al, Qual, Asael, Amaros, Batar Anan El, Zakael, Samsapel, Satariel, Turel, Jomjael, Sariel. These are their chiefs of 10. There was a lot more.
So God must be Hebrew. God must be Hebrew.
Okay. So we're still in still in the first book of Enoch. Now we're on chapter 7, verses 1 through 6. It says, and all the others together with them took unto themselves wives. What just happened? Took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one, and they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them, and they taught them charms. So he wasn't just mad that they had offspring, right? And enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. So all of this spiritual wickedness in high places came through the woman. Now the women, they didn't really have a choice. Some of them did, of course. To look at some of these, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this and that. But he, like a lot of this, even pharmacy, all the sorcery that's going on was taught through the women from the Watchers, right?
That's why we're looking at like with the cutting of the roots
Mhm.
and the choir.
Witchcraft, yeah.
With the plants,
Mhm.
the GMO,
Yep.
genetically modified food. Like,
Yep.
I'm like they just like they gonna condemn us. They're gonna try to condemn us
Oh yeah.
anyway with putting the unclean foods in everything.
Everything.
So not only are you putting the unclean foods in the clean food, but now you making our plants unclean.
Mm-hmm.
It's wicked, man.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the pharmaceutical. Like I was just sorry about this
You're
side
good.
note, but
You're good. Go ahead.
you know they have the self-dissolving stitches. Just I found out a couple years ago, like that's made with like shellfish.
Oh man.
So
Me
Nimrod.
neither.
Rebellion.
it's like y'all really defiant. Like
We live in the land of rebellion, the land of Nimrod, Babylon, spiritual spiritual wickedness in high places, right? Oh, keep going. Or you have more?
no, that was pretty much. It was just like that was it.
Acquainted with plants, and they became pregnant, and they bear great giants, or gigantes, or Gibbarim, or Nephilim, whose height was 3,000 ells. So I didn't put this in there. Can somebody look up how tall is 3,000 ells? So I'm talking about the original Nephilim that came down. So I just need somebody to look that up. How tall is 3,000 ells?
I wonder how these
I wonder how
women
tall
had
was their
their
babies.
kids.
That's all I
Right.
know.
That's what I was like. How did you
How
have
big was
it?
their babies? That's what I want
Did
to
they
know.
even survive the birth?
Man,
That's what I'm
a
saying.
lot of the women didn't. They couldn't have. Barely.
Wow. So it said 3,000 English ells is 11,250 feet.
What?
What?
The first Nephilim children? Yeah.
How much?
11,000 feet.
11,250 feet.
Yeah, it's time to go flying. Cause like some of the other stories or other texts about King Og, and some of the people that were in the giant something that we're going to talk about next time is the 100,000 giant war. Literally ripped off mountains to throw at people, like not joking.
Oh,
That's crazy.
3,000 or 11,000 feet.
That's to the
The
sky.
originals, yes.
And they had children with regular human beings?
Well, because the angels that came down, they can change their form. So they would just make themselves appear like really good looking and really strong and this and that. They could change their form, but once from what came from above got in the belly.
But yeah, even if they probably like, 'cause we thinking like, how you birth something like that, but
Yeah.
they
They
grow,
probably
you know,
formed them or
you got to
something.
hit puberty or whatever,
Yeah.
so to speak. They just probably,
Yeah.
they
just grew really
5 years
fast.
old and he's 6
It's
feet
like
already.
one day the baby's this big and the next day the baby's
Yeah.
big as a table and you're just like,
Yeah.
what happened?
Oh, these kids grow like weed. Literally.
No, that ain't weeds. That's something else. They been eating Miracle Grow their whole life.
These kids grow like mountains.
Boy, something. But 11,000 feet. Just think about that. Think about that. So knowing that, and think about 100,000
Dang.
giant war.
That's
You can't even look. You can't even see that far. I'm not okay if you got 20/20 or not. You ain't looking
You ain't
past.
going like Jack and the Beanstalk.
Or Jacob and the Beanstalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
where they got it from, because we're giant killers. And all that stuff's about us. It's all about us, right? Okay. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men, so all of the food, all the meat, all the fruit. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. So what was the secret about Nimrod's kingdom?
That he was eating men meat.
So he did it secretly. The difference between him and King Og's kingdom, even though they were getting them from King Nimrod's kingdom, they ate them openly. So they were open about it. King Og did it in secret, just like Babylon. They're eating our people. They're eating everybody, really. If you're dumb enough to get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, like they're gonna sacrifice you to whoever, scare you to death, eat your pineal, probably burn you, and then you'll be somebody's Big Mac. Like I'm gonna keep it a buck. That's literally what happens. That's why I don't eat no big human Mac. I don't do that no more.
So it's true. That's how we got dinosaurs, right? They
Yeah,
started having
bro.
sex with the animals
But,
now.
yeah, because they sinned against it. Like, not only did they teach the admixture, but yeah, some of them.
Yeah.
Because, like, they finally got some Watusi. I'll just call it that because I ain't going to call it the other word, right?
Yeah.
And so they just basically went ham, literally in pigs.
That's
like, for
crazy.
real.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
For real.
That's how we got
They literally
dinosaurs.
went ham.
Yeah.
Like, it was a real thing.
Said, man. But yeah, like you said, like come on, like that's why like the genealogy of the octopus is like so many thousand years old, and like they brain like is just amazing.
They're
Like,
smart too.
Yeah,
super
like,
smart.
yeah, don't sound like that. Like, you ever seen octopus, like the cannibal? I'm not the cannibal, but the camouflage octopus. I think all of them can do it. That is one specific one.
Yeah.
It can change to this. It like if it get on a rock, it can change to that rock.
Everything.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm talking about each piece of cell
Yeah.
is controlled by. It was. I've seen this happening, bro. Like
I ain't never seen that one.
you know, like the chameleon can change its
Yeah.
colors. Like
Mm-hmm.
where did this stuff come from?
Well, that's like when we're born, like, you get a chance to, like, look into the different changes that the fetuses and all that goes to, from reptilians to
Yeah.
everything. Like, it's wild. Like,
Very
yes.
interesting.
And then imagine a fallen one being the father, made of the strongest of the strong of the cosmos. So there's just 11,000 feet. Oh, you tall.
Tall. That's
I'm 10,000 feet, shorty. You just mentioned over here.
You ain't scraping no sky today, huh? So it says, who consumed all acquisitions of men, and when men can no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless one. So yes, they were literally going to ham, having sex with the animals,
that don't.
and genetically modifying
just
them,
can't.
and they taught the mixture of animals also. So it was a lot.
Just think about it. Y'all know the sperm whale? It's like the biggest mammal. This thing live in the water, but it's a mammal. It breathes
mammal?
air. It breathes air.
So
It
they have to come
breathes
up for air.
But this the biggest thing in one of the ocean or the world or something.
Okay, so let's keep going. Spiritual wickedness in high places, right? So Ecclesiastes 1:9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. What does that mean?
It's coming back.
As in the days of who?
As
Noah. All of this happened in the time of Noah. So shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So it's going to get more and more sci-fi, more and more whatever. So if ever you come in here and you see a lesson and it says Stranger Things, just know it's getting sci-fi. Like, if whenever y'all see this, you know that we're going back and we're gonna look at some stuff.
That's
Right.
why a lot of people so fearful of Revelation, because they don't partake in like this in the Old Testament. Like you said, this sci-fi thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that giants ain't real. Oh, it couldn't have been. But then when you read the Revelation, it's like some of that stuff is like sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, 7-headed beast. You know, come on now.
It's a spiritual sense.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know that.
Right.
I don't know if they don't know or they just don't want to know. But
Well,
everything is a spiritual lens.
But it's like that's why
Crazy.
you always say, you know, you have to be rooted in the Torah. You got to be rooted in the Old Testament before you go to partaking in these other parts or religions, so to speak. But,
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about Epstein and Pizzagate. I'm not gonna re-bring that up. Did you know there's a Black and Missing Foundation?
Mm-mm.
I did not know.
I didn't know it either.
Basically, since the pandemic, I don't know if because I know that's the link for it, but let me see if the next slide actually shows it. Yeah, okay, it's right here. I did put it in there. Okay, so this Black and Missing Foundation. This is what I'm saying, especially us as men, you know, with children. Like y'all have children. I don't have any children yet. With children or whatever, you know, and women, you too, you have children too. You got to be careful because since the pandemic, it says Black and Missing Foundation co-founders Natalie and Derica Wilson said on The View Thursday that they've seen a concerning uptick in missing person cases since the start of the pandemic. That could be connected to child sex trafficking. According to the 2020 NCIC missing person and unidentified person statistics, over 543,018 people were reported missing last year, and nearly 40% were people of color. So out of everybody in America,
That's over half.
you got
Almost.
That's
you
almost
got
half.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
you got
But I'm
you
thinking
got
about
you got Black people, you got Latinos, you got Asian people, you got Europeans, and at all of that, we're 40% of the
That's
people
crazy.
missing.
That's the main one. We the main one.
And you got like the Indians, not Native Indians, but like
Right.
Indian
That's what I'm
Indians.
saying. There's so many different
There's
types
so
of
many
people.
nationalities, yeah, like, and 40 of them was
40%.
Yeah.
So
sheesh.
somebody, what's 40% of 543,018?
Man, a lot of them.
Can somebody do that on the calculator real quick so we can get a number? Should
Give
be
me the big
200
number.
and like 60 something.
Nah,
543,000.
More like 220 something thousand.
43,000.
Yeah, 18.
220 something thousand.
You could be right.
217.
Am I right?
I don't know yet.
217,207.
I was close.
Yeah, you're right. So, out of 543,000, over 217 of them were our people that came up missing.
That's crazy.
And this time, in the spiritual wickedness in high places, in the stranger things of things, smaller cells, because we are the ones that have the covenant with the Most High. They want to kill the covenant at all costs. That's why King Nimrod, not even King Nimrod, King Og, he wanted to. So this is how crazy it is. So we know that Abraham was given the covenant. We're gonna get into that here in a little bit, right? He was given the covenant and certain things that it entail. So something happens to Nimrod, and he's putting the same thing in his flesh to try to act like he was getting the covenant, but he didn't. He served the Lord, which is who? Baal. Everything would be so close, and just one thing off. You gotta be careful.
One little tweet.
You've got to be careful, man. One little thing. Because he's serving the Lord. That's what everybody says. The Lord this, the Lord that, all this. You know, you just don't even pay attention. Go ahead. I know you got something. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so I was just having a conversation with my cousin. I said, we can be doing everything spot on. If the enemy can knock us off our rocker just a little bit, towards the end of your journey, 3 degrees, anybody know anything about traveling the compass.
Yeah.
If you are a half a degree off,
You way off.
man, you're going to be off at the end of your
You
journey.
ain't gonna find your place.
Yeah.
So,
Lost.
and people, like you said about serving the Lord, you know what I mean? So many people say, oh, the Lord, the Lord, the Lord, which in their heart they might mean, but we got to get back to these words, you know what I mean? Not knowing who you serving.
Yeah.
That's a big thing you playing with. And people want, these words not important to them because, oh, that ain't important. God know my heart. No, these words are important. Why he tell you life and death is in the power of the tongue, but you say these words not important?
Boy.
but you don't want to take time to understand what these words mean that we speaking. That's so asinine to me.
Right.
And like, again, like the spiritual wickedness out places, like Jamal said, the elites are behind all the trafficking going on. But let's read a little bit more about how big this trafficking is, because yes, it's sex trafficking, but then a lot of them are being sacrificed. They're being eaten. This is not something new. This is something of ancient times, of old times. So I'm gonna start about right here. It says human trafficking is the fastest growing crime globally. The fastest thing is it's what's hot in the streets right now.
Clintons.
Right, boy. And it is the third largest crime next to drugs and weapons smuggling, according to the International Labor Organization. Then it says, nobody really knows the extent of the problem, but most experts estimate there are 40 million human trafficking victims around the world, she said. It is a form of modern day slavery. 40 million people. 40 million people. And then again, because most of us here are men, we gotta be there to protect. That's one of our responsibilities. Like we can't let that just fall by the wayside. Like with the inflation, I was telling Bam, I filled up my truck from E. It's over $70 to fill up my truck. The weight, and then the wife was just telling me about how Biden just raised the minimum wage for VA employees to $15. Do y'all not see how bad the inflation is getting?
Mm-hmm.
Steaks cost like over $40. You can't even, and then like what used to be like a $20 or $30 meal at Cattleman's or Colton Steakhouse or whatever, and then you can't even buy steaks for that amount anymore.
At all.
Like, be careful, because there's a lot, and then even now there's a lot of closet cannibals that you just don't know about. All these serial killers that be walking around here in America all the time. Sometimes they get rid of the bodies, sometimes they eat them. Go ahead.
No, I just said a lot of them serial killers that became, like a lot of them is from Seattle, or they lived in Seattle at one
You're
time.
laughing.
I didn't know that until I moved there.
It was depressed out there.
And this is what I'm talking about, like, as men. So this is what this is. Today, there are countless men, women, and children who are trapped through the use of violence, deception, or coercion, and exploited by traffickers for their own financial or personal gain. Pay attention to what your children, what your wives are on the internet, on YouTube, on everything, who they're conversing with. This is not the time for them to, for you to not be doing your due diligence, because they didn't ask to come here. Like, that's our responsibility, right? Like, I'm telling you, like, be careful.
Man, that whole topic right there.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean, it's just like with my kids, they can't have a cell phone or any kind of social media until they get a certain age, anyways. But I mean, you got parents that don't care, and they give their kids phones and all these social medias and these messengers, like as little as 5 years old, and they don't really look on them because they're just so worried about, oh well, they're quiet, they're fine. And I'm like, no, you gotta watch what your kids is looking at. Watch who they talking to, because I mean, people, when they desperate, they make up some type of account, and next thing you know, your baby walking down the street getting snatched up. While she going to visit her friend, but didn't say nothing because that so-called friend told her, don't tell your mom and dad, just walk down the street, I'll meet you at the park.
That is so.
It's so scary,
Never
man.
seen it.
But no, that happened. Like that happened to my little cousin. Not like in that sense, but she did. That happened to her. She went up with her friend from school. But it's just the fact that
It could have been worse.
It could have been way worse.
Right.
Thank God the police found them, and she was safe in the house. But just told her little sister, "I tell mom I'm going to my friend's house. Mama know."
Right.
And nobody knew. But like you said, I'm one of those parents, because I got my kids' phones early, and I'm like, oh, it's nothing. But it's the iMessage games on my phone. People always hit me up. Where you from? And do you want some money? I'll be your sugar mama.
Oh my
just look
gosh.
crazy.
Yes.
Like, you don't even know we just playing the game.
Are you a sugar baby? Like, what are you talking about?
Shoot,
Get out of my
how
inbox.
much money we talk? I mean, no, but I'm a real firm. Like I said, I'm a little loose with like the cell phone thing, but like, nah, y'all ain't the Snapchat. Nah, I don't want that. All these social media outlets, like, nah, you even Roblox. My homegirl was telling me, like Roblox, like they was doing the sexual stuff in it.
It's a
I'm like, it's a
scary.
kid's game.
I mean, anywhere, I'm protective of my kids. If we go anywhere, I have to have eyes on you.
And I-
If
I just
if
make-
you are not in front of me, then you are in the wrong. Even my son Devin, even though he taller than me, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I need to protect you.
I used to make fun of them parents with the leash on their kids. Now it's a family leash going around. 'Cause everybody connected. Belt loop.
Everybody gonna be on a leash.
Wow, there's a lot of bots on the live today.
Like what?
Look at it. Like if you look at the live chat right now, there's a whole lot of bots.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen that many bots on the chat. That's crazy. So,
What am I doing?
so while y'all are doing that, I'm gonna go and tell y'all some more things to know about Nimrod and King Og. So both King Og's and Nimrod's kingdoms, they ate adult males openly. Well, King Og ate the males openly. King Nimrod and them did it in secret. While the women were honored and made into priestesses, wives, and Baal the Lord's concubines. So they were for sex and for procreation, right?
Is that what priest mean?
Priest? No, priest.
Priestess.
Priestesses is a woman.
Because I know we got wives and I'm just.
No, because the priestesses, and then it literally puts it in parentheses. Those priestesses were their wives.
Oh, got you.
The Rephaim's wives. Okay. The Rephaim priests implement child sacrifice to undo the unspoken mistake. So they got the people, the Rephaim, and then all the smaller selves that were there to start sacrificing their children to try to undo what Nimrod ended up getting all of the different clans of giants to do. So it says, when the moon child dies, the moon child was King Og and his wife Lesh's child, right? That was supposed to be the child that was supposed to be the savior or the saving grace of the Rephaim. That's what the moon child was supposed to be. So when the moon child dies, humans are burned alive and sacrificed to Baal because the Rephaim are having procreation issues.
Wow.
Because now, we know if you've read further in Enoch, that the Most High, he's cursed their seed. Got them fighting each other, killing each other because they're eating mankind and this and that. But then, so he did the same thing he's doing to the Europeans now. They're not procreating. They stopped. They were having issues procreating. That's why it says that King Og was the last of the remnants of the giants, which we know that was actually the Rephaim, because they couldn't procreate anymore. Even with the smaller self women, the Most High, he just shut up their womb. He was like, no, that's done. I'm done with you. Like, that's it. Dunsky. There you go. Dunsky. Bloodlust and bloodletting is done to entice Baal to give them fertility. So does anybody know anything about bloodlust or bloodletting? Well, you know, there's a lot of people that have to have bloody burgers, bloody steaks, bloody. But bloodletting is when, because Baal, he loves it when you start carving yourself and start bleeding out to him. So that's what they do. They would carve themselves. The Rephaim would do that. They would also make the smaller selves cut themselves to the Lord. That was a part of their worship system to the Lord Baal.
I seen a video. They would have like these knives and they would just slap.
Yep.
Them. I think that was good at Easter.
Bloodletting. That's Eastern.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What were you
I
thinking?
understand now. I was like, what? I just didn't get it.
That's crazy.
That's gross. Gonna bleed out to death. Go right ahead.
Yeah. No,
Plain
because
peace,
Baal of the earth, like he did some
Oh,
supernatural stuff. This is just part one. When we get into part two, well,
Just to be clear, so I don't think you said this, but like sacrificing, like you said, sacrificing came like you sacrificed, you burned, and you ate. Like that's like the whole thing of sacrificing, right?
right, because you burn it to the Elohim, and then like, okay, so even if you go back to the book of Jasher, Abraham was trying to figure out who the Most High actually was. So he was trying to figure, was it the sun, the moon, the stars, all this and that. And then with his dad Terah, he had a god for every day of the week. I think he had 12 of them, right? So Abraham was like, okay, let's put food in front of him, this and that, and let's see if he ate it, right? So all of these stone and wood things, and Abraham realized that, wait, these aren't God. They didn't eat it. And so what Terah and them would do, like they would literally, or even a lot of the other things in the book of Joshua, they would literally in secret a lot of times eat the meat. But yeah, because even in the Bible, like the priests, the Levites, are the ones that eat of the burnt sacrifices. So that's when things started connecting. I'm like, oh man, you eat sacrifices. So yeah, when they
That's what I was just gonna say, because if they were just to kill them, it wouldn't be a sacrifice. Versus actual
I
sacrifice.
mean, it would if that's your son or your daughter. That would still be a sacrifice. But to eat it means you are becoming one with that Elohim.
So eating,
Because it's like
sacrifice
eating is a
covenant.
communion. That's
Yeah.
what I forget. Oh, what's his name? I think his name is Yaki. That's what he talks about. Eating is communion with the Creator. So if you're eating to your Elohim, and he's the one that tells you, "I want human sacrifices," well then, for you to become one with that El or all, that's what you'll have to do. You'll burn them in the fire. Once that sweet, strange savor is going up to the Lord Baal, then you'll eat of that sacrifice. What, Jeremiah?
No, that's
I'm not going too fast, am I?
No, you're
We
good.
good? We good? Okay.
That just turned my stomach like.
Sorry, my bad. The bloodline is done to. Okay, so now let's keep going. So now we're getting into the portion where of the spiritual wickedness in high places and the blasphemies, right? Because when I tell you it'd be so close, it's just little tweaks when it comes to the Lord. That's why I don't like saying the Lord. I like saying Yahuwah, so you know who I'm talking about, or Yahusha, or the Most High. I don't like saying the Lord because that could be also equals Baal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Jeremiah, can you read this one?
I am Baal, your God who delivered you from Nimrod and the 100,000 giant war. I am Baal of the earth, who will provide the extension to the Rephaim. Because of this, you will bleed yourself before no other gods.
Bloodletting, bloodlust, right?
I do not honor the circumcision, the lost book of the king of Og.
So Baal, the Lord, doesn't honor circumcision, so he wants to kill the circumcision,
Wow.
The
even to this
circumcised,
day.
kill the circumcised.
Right? Because
Yeah.
we are the circumcised,
Yeah.
right? We are the set apart one. Circumcised means to set apart, right? Okay, that was the lost book of King Og, page 7. I told you all this information started coming quick. I'm like, oh man. So then it says, consider this: a time is coming when you will all worship Baal Haman. He is coming in the storm. Every eye will see him, even those that practice circumcision. The lost book of King Og, page 7. So can somebody read me Revelation verse 1 and 7?
One and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen.
But you see how close it is? Every eye will see him because he comes in a storm. But you
Oh,
said he
wow.
comes in a cloud.
Right.
You see how close the Lord makes it to the Most High? You got to be careful. And then if you read this one, if you ever read Exodus 20, you'll be like, because he says, what, you will not bleed yourself before no other gods. Well, the Most High tells us not to sacrifice to other gods.
Exactly. But no other gods before him.
Really close, a small tweak. Spiritual wickedness in the high places, blasphemy. Be careful with these other books, with these new theologies, with these gods that our forefathers have not known, even wood and stone. Like, what does that mean? That, like, when the Bible, the book of Jasher, all these places talk about gods that your fathers did not know. What does that mean?
They were just made up. They were made up.
Right. But why? But why were they made up? Because we know that even before the flood and after the flood, there were what? Giants, Nephilim. So they were new mighty men that came up, and then after that person, a god was formed, a new worship system. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
But it was made up, though.
Yeah, it was made up because they worshiped them as a god. Nimrod worship, right?
So,
Go ahead.
you said, so Nimrod created self-worship. So, he created the...
He still worshiped Baal. So Nimrod, King Og, and then Sion, the one that you read earlier, Sion, they were all priests of Baal. They were all, well, especially Sion, Og, and then Og's brother Ag. They were all raised to be priests of Baal. So he was literally a Baal Melchizedek, if you can understand what that means. But keep going, my fault.
Well, yeah. So, well, no. 'Cause I thought, I was thinking Nimrod was considering himself to be Baal, and they all was worshiping him.
In some of the accounts and some of the texts, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He had, so Nimrod was the first tyrant or dictator. So you know how, like, a lot of communist countries is like, North Korea. You know, everything's about their leader, right? It was Kim Jong-un at the time. Everyone worships that person and this and that. They got that from Nimrod. Because Nimrod was a mighty hunter against the Most High, in defiance of the Most High. So he didn't give all the praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. Even though he was a servant of Baal, he still gave it to himself because that's what Baal wants you to do. He wants you to be in self-worship. He don't want you to give it to the Creator like you're supposed to. He wants you to think that you are God. It's you that have made yourself and not the Creator. It's a tweak on the words.
Mm-hmm.
We good?
Yeah. I'm gonna ask some questions after this.
No, ask questions. Go ahead.
Oh, so where did Baal come from then? Like, is he one of the watchers?
No, gotta be.
Baal is a demon.
Yeah, the Most High created him.
Baal is a demon. He's
Is he?
always been a demon.
Let's see. Also, he always been
Always been a
there.
demon. Yes. Like Baal, Molech.
It wasn't no demons until they fell, right? Because it was all.
No.
That was demons
There
before the
were
fall.
demons. There were angels and demons, and then there were fallen ones.
Got
So they were
you.
angels that fell. There were always demons. The Most High is the Elohim of order, so he created light and darkness, right?
Mhm.
So he created angels and demons, and then there were angels that fell. And you can classify them as demons, but technically they're not. Technically they are not. They're from the other portion of it,
But
for
yeah,
the
because
balance.
the way they hold, like when Satan, Lucifer, or whatever, when he got kicked out, I thought that's when the whole wickedness, demons, and all that came about.
Fell out.
That's how it make it seem, the way you in traditional church.
What we learned, yeah.
And it make it seem like everything was hunky dory until he defied, and then everybody fell with him, and that's when all it became. But gotcha.
There's always been wickedness, so
Yeah.
you know, people always fall into it. In every captivity that we've had, we literally fell right into the mess. And it's like,
Gotcha. So I just thought Baal was like this, just like the golden calf. I thought that was Baal. I didn't know he was actually like
Yeah, he was actually a
demon.
demon. Still is.
Yeah,
So
but
that's
the
why he
Most
was
High
talking to
created
them.
him
Gotcha.
for that purpose, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, we think we really know the Creator, and He does. His ways are above our ways. Like, we know Him to an extent. We know in part. You know, we're looking through a glass dimly. Like, it's, we prophesy in part. It's
I
not
know why he created him.
to try
Like he
man.
created us.
he gotta see
The whole
where we
duty of
stand.
man.
Yeah, for real. To give us a choice. Are we gonna choose life or are we gonna choose death?
Exactly.
And that's why the whole duty of man is what?
To love God and keep His commandments.
Yeah, to worship him. So he want us to choose him. Like I tell people, like, he wants you to choose him. He could have just told you, hey, do what I say. No. I want
No
your
choice.
I want you to want me.
So I got a question. What is the unspoken mistake?
Nimrod secretly being a
Cannibal.
cannibal.
Cannibalism.
Okay.
In secret though.
In secret. Yeah, for real. Yeah. Don't do this out in public. They know they do that in King Og's land. But, we have some dignity. We have some decorum. We just gonna wait and then we're just gonna tell them we're gonna have a banquet for them. A big banquet, big feast. We're not gonna tell them though. I'm actually having human legs. I don't need no chicken legs. Give me them human legs. Yeah, like
Oh,
give me that man meat. Like that don't even sound right. Like,
man.
so everybody is in agreement then of what the unspoken mistake is. Cannibalism, right? So, can we go to Genesis 17 verses 7 through 14? And Jessica, if you don't mind, ma'am.
Sorry.
Yeah, if you got to read it on your phone, I
I
understand.
have to because that's little and it's hurting my eyes.
Genesis 17 verses 7 through 14.
7 through 14. Okay. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee. This is twisting. The land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abram, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised.
Shall be what?
Circumcised.
So what is the unspoken mistake?
He got rid of circumcision.
Who did?
That guy named Nimrod.
No.
Okay. No,
Okay,
no.
keep going, keep going.
And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
Okay, between me and you. Okay,
Okay.
keep going.
And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generation. He that is born in the house or brought with money, or any stranger which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh or his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant.
So, what is the unspoken mistake?
So he circumcised not only, he probably was circumcising men outside of the 8 days, but he circumcised the giants too.
So, the covenant with us in the Most High is the circumcision, and according to Baal, there's or even King Og, there's an unspoken mistake. So Nimrod coerced all of the giants to end up circumcising themselves. So that's what I'm saying. You got to be careful. You got to be careful because the Lord, there'll be one little tweak, some one thing that's different. Now Nimrod got his Nephilim to do that. But King Og, who was serving Baal too, this is what weird. He plays devil's advocate. He's playing both sides. So Baal is who Nimrod is worshiping, and then the same one that King Og is worshiping. Mm-hmm. So according to King Og, it's the unspoken mistake. So King Og can represent the nations, the heathens, right? They want to kill the circumcision. They want to kill it. That's what I'm saying. Be careful. Pay attention to your families, your loved ones, or whatever, because they want to kill the circumcision, the circumcised. Because we have a covenant with the Creator. Baal has his own covenant. And according to King Og, it was against the circumcision, but according to Nimrod, it is the circumcision. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, which one is it? It's confusion, and Yahuwah is not the author of confusion.
Right.
Right? Okay, so we good on that? Any questions?
That's crazy.
Go ahead.
You look wild if let us know we was wrong.
Yeah. I just wanted to see if y'all got it. Yeah, you're right.
Just like a teacher.
So now we're gonna go to Romans 2 and read verses 25 through 29. It says, "For circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision?" Because it's about what?
No.
"And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision doth transgress the law?" Because that's what I was telling you. Like, you're a judgment to him. That's why he's always trying to condemn you. "For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh." So Nimrod and them started doing it in the outward thinking, about all this and that. And you think Nimrod didn't kind of have, like, he has his own priestesses, this and that. You think he didn't have an idea about what was going on with Abraham and them?
Of course he knew, because he's a direct descendant of Noah. So they...
Exactly. "But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men." Nimrod's praise was of men, but of Elohim, right? So let's just keep going. So, like I said, circumcision is the unspoken mistake.
Okay.
And we're in spiritual wickedness in our places. My bad, y'all. I just want to see if y'all was.
So why do Jewish people do it at age 10?
What do you mean?
That's what Ink said.
What did he say? Do what at 8? You're supposed to do it on the 8th day.
Circumcision.
Ink. They're supposed to do it on the 8th day, not age 10. I think you're talking about like either the bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. You're not talking about circumcision.
Oh, that says 16.
Huh?
That says 16, ain't it?
Yeah, so I don't know what he's talking about, but they don't wait till 10 to get circumcised. The covenant says 8 days. If they are, they're wrong. So more things to know about Nimrod. Jamad, you mind reading this?
Man, can't see that.
Right.
Yeah, let me get out the way, young man.
Nimrod sustains an injury in his loins on the battlefield by Rephaim, one-eyed Arg.
That's his name. The Nephilim's name is Arg. He only had one eye.
Org.
Nimrod escapes, has his braids shorn, and finishes circumcising himself.
So Nimrod is in a battle, is fighting against a Nephilim. Part of his memory gets cut, so he ends up finishing the
Oh my
circumcision.
gosh.
So
Okay.
keep going.
Nimrod then proceeds to circumcise 1,000 Nephilim of his army and killed those that refused by axe and tied their bodies to a tree
So-
for the vultures to feast.
So it was just like the Most High said, like anybody who did not circumcised on the 8th day is cut off.
Yeah.
But like the Most High, he didn't just kill them right then and there. But according to Nimrod and Baal, they're gonna kill them right then and there, right?
Nimrod's priestesses prophesied that the moon child, King Og and his wife's daughter, must be raised in Nimrod's Nephilim kingdom in the temple of Mot.
So Mot. So whenever you read about Apollyon and Abaddon, the angel of the bottomless pit, the one that's locked down there, that's
Yeah.
Mot. That's who that is.
He's gonna get let loose at the end of the days, ain't he?
Right, right. He's
Yeah.
getting let loose soon.
Yeah. King Og rejects his proposition and kicks Nimrod out.
So King Og is like, man, I'm not raising my daughter over there with y'all. Would y'all circumcise selves? Nah, I'm not doing all that. Y'all, you know what? Well, why don't y'all get to stepping? Right? Keep going.
Nimrod sends spies and tries to steal the moon child, but they are fatally wound her. My bad. Fatally wound her. Yeah.
So Nimrod tries to steal the moon child because remember, this was the one that was prophesied to be the savior,
Why is they?
the savior to the Rephaim. Go ahead.
You know, they tried to go kill him.
Yeah. They crazy, huh?
Mhm.
King Og kills the 30 giant spies with his bare hands and learns that they are circumcised and from Nimrod's kingdom, thus starting the 100,000 giant war.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think about all that?
That's crazy.
Now go back to Mott because I kind of
Mott.
So, in the end times, you know, there's an angel of the bottomless pit. It was one of the 200, probably one of the first 200 that fell, right? In the end times, he's released. That's what they're actually doing with CERN, right?
Yeah.
In the Bible, it calls him Apollyon or Abaddon. But if you go back to other texts, his name is actually Mott. It's the same person. Different name, different culture, same being.
He's gonna wreak havoc on the earth. What's gonna be crazy?
Yep. That's the angel of the bottomless pit, literally. Literally the angel
So
of the
it's real.
bottomless pit.
Well, I'm telling you.
No, I know. I heard it because I was. That's not the one with that said he's gonna reign for 1,000 years? And
No.
it's not that. Okay.
No. They're gonna release him at the end times, and he's gonna wreak havoc on the earth, and that's when God gonna come back and do what he do.
He better not be a king of the kidneys.
Yeah.
Get us on phone.
It's a,
Get us on phone.
it's a straight beast, though.
But see, that's crazy. Like our whole life, we've been geared to fearing. Like, you wasn't supposed to fear that. Cause in this moment, like I said, I ain't fearing. Like, cause I know this wicked. Like that's why I know what the world be doing.
Yeah.
Like I'm putting that past them. Side note, did y'all see them folks release the sun?
Yes.
China?
In China.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you talking about? Release
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sun?
you know, they created their own sun. It's 10 times hotter than the original. Because you know that Bill Gates and I forget which university, I think, is it Oxford or Cambridge, one of them, they're actually putting particles in the air to actually block out the sun. So China's trying to be ahead of the power curve. You forgot about that one. We talked about that last year, the year before.
They're gonna fry us.
Yeah, I don't know how. I feel like
next
I
time.
feel
we doing it to ourselves.
I feel like they capping because I don't know how they can really truly know it's 10 times hotter than the original
Exactly.
sun. But that's what they claimed. It's 10 times hotter than the
Oh.
original sun. They do, and they've actually had it for a lot longer than what they're telling people.
They've had to because they've already got it created.
Yeah, yeah.
Did y'all? But they flew. Y'all didn't see it fly.
Did you see it?
Yeah, it was a video that just went up in the air.
Yeah.
On YouTube?
I can't remember
I'm gonna
everything
put it
on
like
the
this.
Facebook joint.
If that is 10 times hotter than the sun, and we are billions of miles away from the
That
sun.
don't
There's
make no
no
sense. 'Cause how
sense.
Earth can't contain it if it was that.
That's what I'm
Unless
saying.
they
I
build
feel
it
like
outside.
they're exaggerating.
Exactly. I think so too.
But there's
I
a
don't
reason
know if
why
it was-
China has been ahead, and why are they trying to? Why is Bill Gates and them trying to do that over here? Block out the sun.
Release his artificial sun.
Yeah.
You seen it?
Yeah.
Like, why are Bill Gates and them trying to block the
Yeah,
sun
why?
over
Why?
here?
Why?
Because the circumcision is here. They're still trying to kill the circumcision. It don't end. Like it don't end. They are the literal seed of the serpent. You good?
Yeah, it was a little chill.
Yeah. They are the literal seed of the serpent. So now we're gonna get into a little bit more about. So what is an unspoken mistake? First off,
The
Circumcision.
circumcision of the flesh or of the heart, Brandon, or of the heart, either one.
So this just happened. Like,
Yeah, this is recent. Yeah, this is
that's
recent.
recent.
Yeah, the last few months, I think, or
9 days ago.
yeah, within the last month. Yeah, this is
I
recent.
know, yo. It's crazy.
So the blasphemies of Baal. So let's go through this real quick so we can be done for today and then get into part 2 next time. All right.
Yeah.
So, okay, it says, for Nimrod grew like a young plant, like a root out of dry ground. He had form and majesty that we should all look at him, and beauty that we should desire him. He was championed by many. Still, I despised and reject him. This is King Og talking. He became a giant of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He was despised and rejected. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. The lost book of King Og. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Okay. Somebody please read Isaiah 53, verses 2 through 4.
I was up there.
For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant,
As a young plant, tender plant,
and as a root out of a dry ground.
and as a river dry ground, like a root out of dry ground.
He hath no form nor comeliness.
No, okay. He had no form nor comeliness.
Yeah.
He had form and majesty that we should all look at him.
And we shall see him. There is no beauty that we should desire him.
That all should look at him, and beauty that we should desire him.
Wow. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not.
Keep on.
Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this. For Nimrod grew up like a young plant, tender plant, like a root out of dry ground. And as a root out of dry ground, he had form and majesty that we should all look at him, and beauty that we should desire him. He hath no form nor comeliness, and we shall see him. Right?
Yeah.
There is no beauty that we should desire him. So, Baal is different. It's just a little tweak of it, but it's the same thing. Why do you think that Baal has priests and priestesses? Like, people think just because the Most High has his own prophets and calls his own prophets that Baal don't do the same thing. And you think just because you're getting a prophecy about certain things that Baal didn't have a manipulated version of that prophecy? So he's actually using prophecies about a future time to talk about the end time for the Raphaim. Because there's nothing new under the sun. And he wants to be like the Most High.
Yeah.
He wants to sit in that throne.
Yeah.
He was created that wicked to be that wicked.
To be the nemesis, yeah.
That's what he was. And I could have literally probably just did a whole lesson just on all the blasphemies, just from the first 2 chapters of this.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Let's see another one.
For he shall grow up before him as
That's
a
the same
tender-
one. I
Oh,
put
okay.
it twice by accident. So, Bam, can you read this one?
On the third day of Og's hanging silence in the temple of Baal of the moon, he raised his head and spoke the prophecy. On the third day, Og's hair turned white as wool. His eyes became clear as a flame of fire. His body glowed dimly as burnished bronze. His face became as the sun, shining full force. His voice became as the sound of the great water to come. The Lost Book of King Og, page 20, Revelations 1:14 and 15.
Okay. Read that one too.
Do not be afraid, for I am with all of the earth, the first and the last. I am the living one. I am alive forever and ever.
Okay, so we're going to read Revelations 1:14 and 15, and then Revelations 1:18.
You know what? He might be telling the truth. He might be alive forever and
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, they don't die. You can't kill them. You can't kill them. You can't kill them. They multiply.
That
They
dude
don't
crazy.
die.
Okay, so we're on slide 70. So let's read the blasphemy, right? Come on. This is what it actually should read. Read that one.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
Okay. Now, a little bit of context. So King Og, so the moon child has been born and was fatally wounded. So he's fasting and hanging himself basically to sacrifice to Baal, to hopefully that Baal will save the moon child. So when he gets into this trance, that's when he has this prophecy. Okay. Of the moon, he raised his head and spoke the prophecy. On the third day, Og's hair turned white as wool. You just read that, right? Turned white as wool. Okay. Keep going.
His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as flame of fire.
Let me
As
see
a
if they
flame
put
of
that.
fire.
His eyes became clear as a what?
Flame of fire.
Okay. Keep going.
And his feet like unto fine brass as they were burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters.
So,
As burnished was his body, glowed dimly as burnished bronze. His face became like the sun shining full force. His voice became the sound of great waters.
blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, blasphemy, right? Okay. And then the second one, do not be afraid, for I am all of the earth, the first and the last. I am the living one. I am alive forever and ever, right? Revelations 1 verse 18, I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death. It's a mockery. He was created wicked to be wicked, to contort the truth, right? There were so many of these. Okay. Let's read this one. Eyeball the earth, know your works, your toils, and your patient endurance with the abomination. I know that you cannot tolerate the circumcision. I know that you have tested the Rephaim that claim to be whole-membered and found some to be false, right? And then the second one, do not fear for the war that you are supposed to be about to suffer. Be faithful to Baal of the earth and abhor circumcision until your death, and I will give you rewards.
Wow.
Let he who has ears listen to what Baal of the earth has to say through his servant Og, right? So let's see the blasphemy. Let's see what the Bible actually says.
That's crazy.
So the first part is a mockery of Revelations 2 and 2. I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil, and thou hast tried them which say they are apostles and are not, and thou hast found them liars. What did that one say? I know your works, your toils, and your patient endurance with abomination. I know that you cannot tolerate the circumcision. I know that you have tested the Rephaim, that's supposed to be those that say they are apostles and are not. They claim to be whole-membered and found them to be false. It's a mockery. Spiritual wickedness in high places. For all the earth, and his tricks don't change. Do not fear for the war that you are about to suffer. Be faithful to all of the earth and abhor circumcision until your death, and I will give you rewards. Let he who has ears listen to what Baal of the earth has to say through his servant Og. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life.
That's crazy.
I couldn't make this up, man. We're almost done. We're almost done. Bam, you mind reading this one? This one's a good one.
And I saw the moon child clothed with the sun, and the moon at her feet. On her head was a crown of the Rephaim, right? She was pregnant and crying, out in the birth pains, in the agony of giving birth. Then the great circumcised dragon, the great circumcised dragon with the 7 heads and 10.
Now we know that that should actually be the uncircumcised. The 7 heads and 10 horns, that should be the uncircumcised.
Mm-hmm. 7 heads and 10 horns appeared before. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna wait. It's gonna come up, but I just. I got it. Yeah. Appeared before the moon child, ready to devour the new Rephaim as soon as it was born. And the moon child gave birth to a son, a male child, who was to rule all of the giant nations with a rod of iron. But the moon child's sons were snatched from her and eaten by the dragon. And the moon child went into the wilderness to die, a victim of the uncircumcised.
Okay, so check this out. So y'all read that, right?
Yeah.
Let's read what it actually should read, okay? Go ahead, man. Revelations 12, verses 1 through 6.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon at her feet, and upon her head was a crown of 12 stars. 12 tribes. And she began with the child cried. She being with child cried, my bad. With the travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon.
It's not a great circumcised dragon?
No.
Okay.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns,
Right.
and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And that's what happened when Lucifer left heaven. He got like a third of
Yeah,
them.
that's what it's talking about.
Oh, that's what it's talking about. Okay, gotcha.
But
The
Lucifer
dragon
in this
stood-
context is like the nations of people that are deceiving people. So
Gotcha. The dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, to devour the child as soon as it was born.
So that's what happened to the moon child, right? The moon child gave birth. Okay, go ahead.
And she brought forth a man child who was to rule all nations.
Giant nations.
All nations.
Oh, okay.
With a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne.
So
oh,
the man child didn't die.
yeah,
Okay, but the moon child's son was eaten.
yeah.
Okay.
And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared for God, that they should feed her there 1,000, 2,000, and 300 days.
1,203 score days. So, what does that make y'all think?
So,
They all off the chain.
yeah, and it kind of make it like, because he know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so when it happens,
Flipping it.
he flipping it, so it's like, oh, this happened.
Yeah. Yes, this did happen. I've seen this and I've done that, but I'll give you great rewards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all you got to do, don't be afraid in this war that you're about to fight. Just be faithful to death, and I will reward you. Doesn't tell you it's a crown of life or nothing. I will reward you in your death. Like, well, what?
I will give
Right.
you rewards.
Yeah, like, what you talking about, Willis?
I think of awards, man. Is this just something to be given?
Yeah, like,
Is it worth it?
what is it, a funeral? Like, what?
Do I want these?
Yeah.
Okay, so, Jamal, can you read this one?
For the sins against the moon child are heaped high to heaven, and Baal of the moon will not forgive the iniquity of her death. Render unto the moon child as she herself has rendered. Repay her land double for your circumcised deeds of destruction. The uncircumcised will mix a cup for the moon child, a double draught to pour out in remembrance of her.
So let's read what it is. It's making a mockery of Revelation 18 verses
Right.
6 through 8, right? So this one reads. You want to read this one, Jessica?
Sure. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled to her double. How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judges her.
Okay. Goodness, man. Like, we're almost, how much, let me see how many more slides I got. Yeah, we're almost done with, these are the last 2 slides. Well, actually, this is going to be the last main one. It says, this is more about things to know. Throughout the lost book of King Gog, there's a multitude of spiritual wickedness in high places, right? The Lord, Baal, has mixed Yahuwah's prophecies with his own. This deception is very great, and there is nothing new under the sun. It's the same thing that we read before. Luke 21:8, and he said, take heed that you be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and the time draweth near. Go you not therefore after them. Because like even when it comes to like the Book of Mormon and all this other stuff that's coming out, people are rooted in this first. They want to go to all these other books, and then their understanding is based off of that, and they try to filter everything through that instead of filtering everything through the word of the Most High. So just be careful. Like, take heed to yourselves. Like, the spiritual wickedness in high places is nothing new, but it's going to ramp up. We're coming into the time of stranger things, the time of the supernatural. So be ready. What you got, Ben? I know you.
I
got
was just saying, like,
I know he was itching.
we were talking about this earlier before the lesson. I was saying how people not rooted in the Torah,
Yep.
and they do the same thing with the New Testament scriptures,
Yeah.
not being rooted in Torah. And like you said, we gotta take heed to what thus said the Lord, because they're gonna misconstrue everything else.
Thus saith who?
Thus said the
Yahuwah.
Okay.
Thus said the Most High,
Elohim.
the one and only Creator.
Yeah.
But yeah, Like I said, so because they, like you said, it's easier to do it with other scriptures. I mean, other religious beliefs, but they doing it with the New Testament scriptures as well.
Yeah.
Verbatim, like verbatim, going against what the Most High said. Like, how dare you? But they don't know. Like you said, they trying to filter New Testament scriptures and don't even know the Old Testament scriptures.
That's a big fact. A big fact. A biggity big fact. But yeah, so just be not deceived. Other known ones, there were more, but like if y'all want to screenshot this and actually look up in King God the blasphemies, y'all can. But that's really all I got. So y'all got questions for me today?
We on YouTube looking up all this stuff. Boy, it's interesting.
See, that's, and I hate that we couldn't come in learning this as a child.
Yeah.
Because this is actually, like you say, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's the same stuff, like you said, it's sci-fi. It's the same stuff we watch on TV as children.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, bro, this is good.
Yeah.
There's some good meat. There's some food. There's some good
Spiritual
food right now.
Spiritual meat.
No man's meat here.
And just so y'all know, next time we're gonna be going over, if it pops up, part 2. It should be part 2, the 2 deaths of King Nimrod. But it's really the 100,000 giant war. That's what we're going over next time.
That's
We're
what
gonna
we
have
look up on YouTube.
Huh?
Get ahead of the game. I'm looking up on YouTube.
Why? Why would you do that? Why don't you just
Why not?
wait? Why don't you just wait?
Because he
Throwing-
wants to have a
throwing
good
the
conversation.
curveballs
out.
Had us thinking
He's gonna do his homework.
We halfway in. Oh yeah, Mike. What? Oh yeah, he eating mean. That's not spoken. He mean over here.
I just had to ask see where y'all was at, man. Don't take it personal. But that's all I got. Just can you pray us out?
Yes, I can. Father, yeah, we just thank you for allowing us to be here together to get more knowledge of your word, Father. We just ask you to further and bless us in the furthering of your Sabbath, Father. We just ask you to keep our family safe and through harm, Father, from harm, rather. We just ask you, Father, to keep waking us up in your will, Father, and not ours. We just thank you, Father, right now for protection and your grace and your mercies. And amen.
Oh man.
I know that said safe through harm.
All right.
Because
Thanks.
there's gonna be some
Thank y'all for
harm,
being
man.
with us,
You know?
family.
Don't do
Until
it now.
next time.
We gonna
Sure.
go through something.
Look at manager on
Especially
TV.
nowadays, everybody going through something.
I know.
You wanna
I'm
keep
going through
it
hunger
safe.
pains right now.